Welcome to the 15 Minutes with the Farmer podcast from Successful Farming, where quick conversations reveal big truths about agriculture and life. I'm your host, Lisa Faust-Prater. My guest today is Jessie Jarvis, a rancher and advocate who shares authentic ag stories while helping connect job seekers with careers in agriculture. Jessie, thank you so much for joining me on 15 Minutes with a Farmer.
Oh, Lisa, thank you guys so much for inviting me. I am very, very thankful and very honored.
Well, I love following you and seeing all the exciting things that you're doing. Let's talk a little bit about your background. So you grew up on your family's ranch in Idaho, and now you and your husband live there and ranch and are raising your kids there. So tell me about what it's like seeing your kids growing up on your home ranch.
Oh gosh, nothing is better. There is no better way to live and to raise a family. So as you mentioned, I grew up on my family's ranching operation here in southern Idaho. We're about halfway between Boise and Twin Falls for those who are, familiar with the area. And I will admit, when I was in high school, when I went to college, I thought, you know what, I don't want to be involved in agriculture anymore. And the reason that I had thought that is just because I was raised in this rural area and ranching was my life and I absolutely loved it, but I thought there might be more out there for me. And so I was really interested in medicine and I wanted to go be an anesthesiologist. So I went to a really small liberal arts college with the intention of going pre-med. So I had a biology degree. And about 6 weeks into that journey of living in a city and being on a campus that had no connection to agriculture, I was the only ranch kid, let alone agriculture kid there. 6 weeks into that, I thought, pump the brakes. This is not what I thought the real world was going to be. I really miss agriculture. I miss the people, like that salt of the earth, say what they mean what they say, strong handshake, all of the good things that we love about our industry. I truly missed that. So I switched to a business degree and then finished out my next 3.5 years at the College of Idaho. And then I didn't necessarily want to go right into becoming a rancher, to moving back home, because I'd put a lot of money into that degree. I wanted to go experience the world and use it. So I worked as the communications director for the Idaho Cattle Association for about 3 years. And at that time, I was fully immersed in the livestock industry. And growing up on a ranch, I thought I kind of knew everything there was to know about the livestock industry. And little did I know, I knew a lot about our individual operation, which is one of a million pieces that make up the puzzle of animal agriculture and specifically the livestock industry. And so that was the greatest time of my life. And I am so thankful for that journey and that opportunity. And at the time, I'd spent 3 years there and I thought, I think I kind of want to try something new. And so I was looking for some other roles. And at that time, my parents were also looking to add another employee to their operation. They were getting a little bit older and they needed more help. And I thought, you know what? If they're going to hire somebody, they might as well hire me. So I ended up moving back to the ranch in 2013. So I have been here now for 12 years.
It goes by.
It's hard to admit that. It does. It totally goes by. And then about a year after I moved here, my husband and I got married. And so he also grew up in a ranching family in our same county. And so he came here and we've been here ever since. And now we have the opportunity, as you mentioned, to raise our children here and still work alongside my parents and get to see his family and work with them as time allows. But it really is the greatest opportunity. And I am so thankful that this is the life that I was born into.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Of the West. Tell us how that idea evolved and became what it is today.
After I came home to the ranch, I also owned a Western fashion magazine with a couple of co-owners. And so I have a really strong network of people in what we would call the Western lifestyle industry. And one of the things that I knew to be true across farming, ranching, ag business, Western sports, Western lifestyle, like you name it, is it takes a really special person to work in our industry. And our industries are unfortunately shrinking. There is a lot of disconnect. And so it just makes it even more difficult to find the right fit. Again, whether you're an employer or a job seeker. And so because my husband and I have these strong networks and we must be outgoing people, we would continually get calls from people saying, hey, I'm looking for a new employee. Do you happen to know of anybody who's looking for a job? Or, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you happen to know of anybody who's hiring? And so we felt like matchmakers in a way, right? But unfortunately, we never necessarily knew the right employer for the right job seeker. Like at the time, the job seeker that had called was a graphic designer, and the employer who called was looking for a ranch hand, and that's obviously not the perfect match. So in the beginning of 2020, I got, I believe it was 3 or 4 calls or texts in a single week of my friends in my own network, either looking for an employee and looking for a job. And I thought to myself at that time, if that is an issue in my own personal network, this has to be a problem on a larger scale. And I knew enough to know that in the conversations that I had had, again, in a variety of sectors within our industry, this was a problem. And so I did a little online research, and I didn't really think that what existed was necessarily going to serve us into the future. I thought, man, this really needs to exist. But at the same time, I knew what a large undertaking that was going to be. So I sat with the idea for a few months, but it couldn't leave my head. Like it was the thing that kept me up at night. And, whenever I had a free moment, I would be brainstorming. And so finally I sat down with my husband. That would have been June of 2020. And I said, here's my idea. I really think this needs to be done. But again, I know that we have a lot going on right now. At the time, we had a 2-year-old. I was also pregnant with our now 4-year-old daughter. But he said, you know what, Jessie, if anybody's going to do it, you are the best person for it. And so since then, Of the West has been off to the races. We launched in January of 2021, so it took us about 6 months to build that initial platform. And since then, we've made a ton of developments and additions and added new technologies and features. And so what that first iteration was is completely different than what it is now. And that is one of the things that we really hang our hat on, is that we are always continuing to evolve and just make things better, because we know that technology in our industry is going to expect that and require us to do so. It did start out as a job platform, as you mentioned. So it's free for job seekers to come use the site. Employers, they do obviously pay per listing. We also have a section of the site called the directory, where you get to go connect with freelancers and contractors. So one of the things that I saw is when employers would go to post positions, they would really only post part-time and full-time positions, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there were still a lot of them that, hey, I really need a photographer for this campaign that we're working on, or I need a web designer, but it's not really somebody that I'm going to employ part-time or full-time. It's just more of a contract basis. And again, those same type of people who are self-employed or entrepreneurs or who have agencies, they were saying the same thing of, I need clients and I need customers, but I'm not going to work for anybody part-time or full-time. And so we created the directory to really serve that side of the industry, connecting those people. So freelancers, contractors, service providers, agencies, you name it, they have listings on the directory that people can go search with, again, those keywords of, if you're looking for a lawyer or an accountant or a graphic designer or a web designer, an event speaker, to where you can easily go find them. And then later this year, we are also launching a directory called Schools of the West. And it's kind of on that same premise. So it will be the same directory type platform, but this is going to be for education opportunities. It will be a directory where you can find 2-year community college, 4-year universities, doctoral programs, master's degrees, and then also trades. So let's say that somebody wants to go be an auctioneer or an equine dentist or an equine chiropractor. Anything that you're going to need a certification for, you're going to be able to find that type of opportunity through Schools of the West. So we're continuing to work on building that out right now. So all 3 of them are very different platforms, but they all work together to really cater to beginning to end in someone's career in agriculture or a Western industry.
There's so many opportunities to be involved in the agriculture industry. Talk a little bit about how folks can have a career in agriculture, that's not necessarily a production career.
When I ask students, let's say, hey, do you think you want to work in agriculture? They think they need to be a farmer, a rancher, a veterinarian, or a professional rodeo cowboy. Like those are the 4 big careers that come to mind. And they say, no, I'm not interested in one of those 4, so I'm probably not cut out for agriculture. I want to go be, again, I'll use this as an example, a web developer. And then I say, well, did you know you could go be a web developer and still work in agriculture? And it is like no, I had no idea. And I just hope that anybody who is listening to this realizes that any job out there, any career or field of study that you are interested in, I guarantee you that you can find that type of role in the agriculture industry. The opportunities in this industry are absolutely endless.
Switching gears a little bit, I want to talk to you about the NCBA Trailblazer program, which you were selected for last year. So congratulations. That's so amazing. Tell
Thank
us about
you.
what that means and what that experience is like for you.
It was an incredible program. So I was part of the Trailblazer program from March 2024 through February of 2025. So they do have a new class of enrollees now, but it really was the greatest opportunity. The number of people that I was able to connect with who are also just dedicated to being strong spokespeople for the cattle industry. All of us, in specifically the class that I was in, the cohort, we came from all different states, different types of backgrounds. Some were cow calf producers, some were purebred people, some were more on the background and the seed stock side of things. And so it just, we really did represent the full spectrum of our industry, again, all hailing from various states in the US. And so it really is the true depiction of what the US cattle industry looks like. And so just being able to lean on those people and to learn more about their operations and their area, and then also continue to train ourselves to be better spokespeople for our industry.
I love programs like that that just bring people together and just let you learn so much more about the industry beyond where you grew up or what you've trained in. It really is such a wide net of folks, and it's always interesting to talk to different people. So speaking of being a spokesperson for ag, sharing the message about agriculture and Western life, with your podcast and with your social platforms, tell me a little bit about what you're hearing from both from farm and ranch people and also people who maybe don't have a background in ag and how they're receiving your messages.
I feel like my audience is primarily people who are involved in agriculture. I'm going to say 70% of them are involved in agriculture, 30% are not. But that 30% of people who have no connection to agriculture, the questions that I get from them, or the thank you for showing this, and I had no idea, I am so interested in this, like the types of positive messages that I get from those people absolutely warms my heart. Like that is one of the reasons that I continue to keep sharing, just because it is so well received. And that's not because I am the greatest person to give the message. It is just that is what people really are interested in. And I am somebody who I always lead with positivity. I always try to put a positive spin on things. And so the positivity that I get from people who are everyday consumers and the types of genuine questions that I get from them, it keeps me committed to sharing that story. And I just want to encourage anybody who's listening. I know we hear that time and time again. Share your story, but what does that mean? There is not a PR agency for agriculture. And so we, as farmers and ranchers and ag enthusiasts and members of this industry and community, we are the PR agency for our industry. And so it is going to take all of us to continue to positively share that message, to continue to connect it to those people who don't have the same opportunity to see it the way that we do. And I just encourage people to really listen to people, and instead of just going in with, well, this is how it is, this is the way it's done. Like when you are able to have that conversation and ask people, well, what do you think, or why do you feel that way, or where did you get that information from? Usually there's not a ton of disconnect there. And when you can really start a conversation from that place of seeking to understand than to be understood, that is when we are going to continue to make waves in our industry for the good of that message.
Oh, Jessie, that's perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. It's been great to meet you. And like I said, I love following you and seeing all the great things you're doing. So just keep up the fantastic work and spreading that good message.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. Like I said, I am very, very thankful that you offered the opportunity, and I am so appreciative. So thank you for that.
Thank you for listening. Open the latest issue of Successful Farming, visit us online at agriculture.com, and subscribe to 15 Minutes with the Farmer so you never miss a chance to connect with the people who feed, clothe, and fuel the world. Until next time, stay rooted, stay resilient, and support your local farmer.